What's up, thinkers? Hope your days and nights have been going very well. I'm Welch, and I'm just going to get right into it. So, my mind has been like loop de loo since the mini battle that happened earlier this year with Joey and Rayvon and Daylight. And I have some thoughts, and I'm going to share it to you guys, okay? As you know, the title of this is K Dot may be dropping. And so, with that being said, let's get right into it. I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory and then tell you what my observations are. So, last year, 2024, I told my guy after the battle, Kendrick had with Drake, that Kendrick was going to drop an album. After I saw Not Like Us music video, it really made sense that he would do so. I saw many people saying Dot was dropping an album 2025, and there was no way he was dropping one this year. Then the Super Bowl announcement came, and it cinched it for me. He was definitely dropping an album 2024. So many people could not see this. I kept saying in chats and convos, with my guy mostly, that Dot planned this whole thing out, and there must be an album coming since Super Bowl is in February 2025, right? It's earlier this year. Then Gen X drops on November 22nd, 2024. It surprises many people considering how he dropped it. The teaser, some called Bodies on his IG, or as Jeremy has temporarily named it, Tiramisu. Then he released the album on DSPs and eventually on vinyl, etc. An absolute bona fide West Coast hip hop album for the ages. All right. I said a West Coast hip hop album. Okay. I repeat, West Coast hip hop album. When I listen to Bodies, I'm immediately in love with the song. It has suspense and drama. I love Kendrick is so great at capturing in his work. I notice he continues to perform this song in the current GNX tour. Well, at least when he was in the States. And, it's interesting because at the time that I wrote my blog, I thought that, Black Hippie was going to somehow have a reunion, right, in California. But that didn't happen. Then it was all these things. The jacket he was wearing had the cards in the back, King, Queen, Jack, Ace. So it was, they were like, oh, maybe it's still going to happen. And that was the sign. We don't know. So I'm going to put a pin on that for a whole nother time. I personally would not be surprised if they were to reunite. I really wouldn't be surprised. But, however, Bodies may feature Black Hippie. But, at that time, especially when I wrote this, Absol had his own shows coming up. He dropped his album last year as well. And then, Kendrick's touring, and J-Rock is said to be creating or dropping a project soon. So everybody's doing different things, but you never know, right? So with that being said, what do I think might be going on with Kendrick? Other than like movie stuff and things like that, and, PG Lang, stuff that he's doing behind the scenes and whatnot, right? And, collabing with Gatorade and Chanel and all of that. Forget about that. Now, as I always say, warning, I could be wrong. But I'm going to say this. In 2012, Kendrick rapped on a very well-known song called Control. He said, I'm the king of New York, king of the coast. One hand, I juggle them both. Okay? I think Kendrick will attempt to do this. Yes, yes, yes. He has never created a full up and down West Coast sounding record before GNX. Good Kid, Mad City comes super close to me personally. And he has literally dominated it critically and commercially with GNX. He has always made music, however, that's influenced that's influenced by both coasts, especially the East Coast. I feel Dot is going to spin the block on what he said on Control. And I'm going to add something here because I just recently posted, the game and the mixtape situation, just in my community board. And I have the game over sign on there from the Super Bowl with that Kendrick performed at. And we got to look at this. He had a controller. Control. Simple. Control. There's so many entendres to what, and meanings, I'll say, to what Kendrick did at the Super Bowl. But that controller is pretty simple. But this man has said on Control, I'm the king of New York, king of the coast, one hand I juggle them both. Okay? And I feel this time he's going to be very literal, especially with all the momentum he has at the moment. And I think he already, I hope, has secretly worked with East Coast producers and or Soundwave, helped make, some amazing, East Coast dope ass production for the ages. And he will quite literally be the king of the coast. To make it more poetic, Joey Badass decided he wanted smoke with Dot, which I think is a bad move. A part of me thinks Dot shouldn't give him the time of day. However, if Dot is doing what I think he's doing, he would have set his plan in place for Joey and Loaded Lux, since they wanted and wanted his attention since earlier this year up until now. And Dot, who said, my Gemini twin back powering up, and, quote, no more handshakes and hugs. And of course I can relate to both. He will strike at his enemies that are on the West Coast. That may include J. Cole. You never know. Now, at the time that I had wrote my blog, I had this thought that Kendrick would go after Joey Badass. I'm not so sure anymore. Because Joey Badass kind of wrote his own swan song for the year. He basically started something he should have never had started. He lost the momentum. He lost people's attention. And what does Kendrick need to do at this point? So I doubt it. He may have wanted to do something, but who knows, right? But anyway, I digress. And the same thing with Cole. Like we don't know what's gonna go on with Cole. I'm keeping it up in the air. All right. I digress though. Overall, I think Kendrick is coming out with an East Coast album. Yes, an East Coast hip hop album. Bar heavy, lyrically beyond the word impressive, and fucking indescribably God tier. Okay? That is what I think. He is coming out with an East Coast hip hop album. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But we keep seeing that red car. What else? Oh, and by the way, if you want to know more about what that red car or red GNX symbolizes, please go check out my either my blog, you can read it. If you could care less about hearing me talk, that is fine. That is totally fine. I don't necessarily care to hear myself speak either. But you can go ahead and read it on my blog, which is, was Kendrick Lamar inspired by Knight Rider and Transformers for GNX album and the album cover. So you can check that out on my blog, or you can check it out on YouTube. I actually made a video. So you don't have time to read, you just want to listen, you got that. All right. So I have a theory on that, on the red car, the red GNX. And I have more. I have a part 2 to that coming up too, because I figured I found out some things and I'm like, oh my God, I have to update this. So all right. So here are my signs of why I think Kendrick is dropping an East Coast album. Okay. Number 1, SZA was seen wearing an Avirex jacket on the first day of the tour in Minnesota. And, Avirex, for those who don't know, is a brand of clothing very known in New York City, born in New York City during the 1970s. Now, I have an old black and gray avirex with a hood with faux fur, lining, but it's not leather. Some people think avirex is out of style. I don't think it is. And for those who do, you must be out of your mind. Okay, I mean it's your preference, so I understand. I don't remember ever seeing SZA wearing an avirex coat before this year. Anyways, many greats have worn them in the 90s: Biggie, Method Man, and Nas. Let's put a pin on Nas for a second. So the next sign is Kendrick released a song on 9/11, 2024, that has been dubbed "Watch the Party Die" on his Instagram. On it, there is a picture of an old beat-up pair of black Air Force Ones. The song was released at the same time MTV Video Music Awards started. The awards were live in New York. The song is certainly a statement. What's interesting is in the early 80s, Avirex provided aviation apparel to the U.S. Air Force. What does that mean? Not sure. And with this part, I want to tie in another video that I dropped, and also on my blog too, the illusion of XXXTentacion and Dodger Blue Peekaboo. It's kind of interesting because, and I wish I want to say more, but you would have to go and watch that video. But I will say this: I do find it interesting that, and you'll understand when you watch or read it on my blog, that conspiracies is a big thing surrounding also with this record as well. That's the other underlying thing for this record is conspiracies. And I do find it interesting that once again, Kendrick drops this precursor of a song that, and not so much a precursor, but the song on September 11th, a time where, 23 years ago from that time in 2024, the attacks happened. And there's a boatload of conspiracies around that. And I find it very interesting that, fast forward, Kendrick releases his album on November 22nd, 2024, which is also a day of conspiracy too. Not 2024, but let's go back a bunch of years. How about 1963 when JFK had passed away? So I feel all of that's connected. And the irony is that JFK was in the Air Force. Oh, no, he wasn't in the Air Force. He was in Navy SEALs. But the fact of the matter is, it's like there's this whole underlying thing that he's connecting with that. And then you have XXXTentacion's. But I've kind of given away too much, but please go watch the video or read the blog. I mean, it's I pretty much kind of gave away a little bit of the ending of the blog, but I really think that I think it would all make sense once you listen to this video or watch and listen to this video, or read the blog. But I digress. So what does that all mean, the whole avirex thing? I'm not sure, right? But again, all these little signals, these little signs that he could be dropping an East Coast album. But then he says, if I catch flight, it's going to be direct. So you are wearing this there's this aviation apparel, and then you say that. And, I think that was also a dig to Drake in terms of, his Air Drake. I think that's the name of his plane. So yeah, moving on. The next sign. When Kendrick and SZA was at MetLife in New Jersey performing for the New York, New Jersey crowd on night 2, May 9th, 2025, Kendrick revealed the GNX under a red tarp. Now, it's been rumored he was going to the studio in Greenwich Village, Manhattan, but we don't necessarily know on the bigger picture. May 24th, 2025, Jeremy Hecht was trying to coax DJ Head to reveal if he was in the studio with anyone, but also started naming other artists. You know, Jeremy tries, and it's funny, and I can't blame him. I do think it's very interesting that Kendrick reveals this red tarp in the New York, New Jersey area, like a big red warning. Something's coming to your area. Be prepared. And I went to the first show. I wish I went to the second show. Myself and my man were totally bitter about that. Super bitter. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, the next sign. GNX was, like I said, a West Coast album. However, throughout the album, Kendrick has dropped clues of Nas. Yes, Nas shouted him out on IG, congratulated him. Hence, Kendrick mentions him on Whacked Out Murals. And I wonder how orchestrated that was. All right. The theme of ruling the world. So we have If I Ruled the World, imagine that, with Nas and Lauryn Hill, with the latter ironically from New Jersey, and Dot is touring with SZA from Jersey as well. Then there's One Mic from Nas. Now, the lyrics from this song resonates very much to Kendrick now and back then. The envy, all the bullshit, unnecessary criticism Dot had to endure for no reason other than putting out quality music and minding his fucking business. So I implore you guys to read those lyrics for One Mic. It's actually like, interesting. And a bit eye-opening. Which interpolates Man in the Garden, right, with Mike. Lastly, we have Luther from GNX that samples If This World Were Mine, right? And covered by Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross was from NYC. And Cheryllynn is from LA. And I feel like Dot may have chosen this song because the lyrics can be construed as a quote-unquote love letter to hip-hop in his mind, even though it's a love song. Layers upon layers. And I also have more than that. I do think he was, when he, underneath that is Martin Luther. Look him up. Not Martin Luther King, Martin Luther. Layers. Okay? Oh yeah, by the way, If I Ruled the World, at that time when I wrote this, I thought that somehow Kendrick was going to drop something on June 4th, 2025, because If I Ruled the World, Imagine That was released on June 4th, 96, which was 29 years ago. But that didn't happen. So, it is what it is, and that's cool. I figured out that, Kendrick's a little bit more deeper than that. And I won't go into much on my thoughts on his dates and why he selects certain dates, but I kind of understand it a little bit more. So, the outfits. Kendrick's outfits for the tour are very New York City, reminiscent of DMX with an East Village punk vibe to it. Army fatigues, leather jackets, on some days, jeans with some patchwork in some spots on the pants, Timberlands or what looks like Timberlands. Last time I've seen Kendrick wearing Timbs, I think it was during the Pimp a Butterfly days. Maybe the All Right video. A t-shirt over a long sleeve shirt, scully or pullover hat, cap, and a chain wallet or wallet chain. Now, I used to wear army gear, pullover hats, Timberlands, but not the traditional ones, and a wallet chain from the 90s into the 2000s, and still wear some of these fits to this day. All right, not to say people in other parts of the world didn't wear these clothes, of course, but it was synonymous with the NYC scene. I feel Dot is sending subs with his fit and clues, and I do find it quite interesting. On the GNX tour, on the second performance at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, Kendrick showed off a new haircut. Anybody notice the similarities? little Joey like, doesn't it? Yeah, and that's all I have to say. This is Welchless Thinking, and I'm Welch Kincannon. If you like where my thoughts are going, go ahead, uppercut the subscribe and or the like button. And you can also donate to the Cash App in the description or on my website. And you can visit that anytime. You can look at other Welchless Thinking blogs that I've posted. I'm still trying to catch up and try to put as much audio or video or whatever to the blog, kind of give people an option. And hey, you love to read, go ahead, read. No, there's no necessary need to be like, hey, I need to be watching the videos or whatever. But if you love the videos and you love what I do, cool. Just remember to like and subscribe. Okay? All right, y'all. Have a good night, and thank you so much for being here and supporting this channel. I appreciate y'all.